Okay, hopefully everybody can hear me okay. Welcome to Savvy Sessions. This is my first one, but I'm excited to share some knowledge and hopefully provide some unique insights on the subjects today. So today we wanted to work or talk a little bit about a hypothesis, I'm going to say, because we're going to use a lot of science terms today, but a hypothesis around if we have the same home in the same location, would we expect the same revenue results? So we have kind of a unique way of looking at this today. Um, so first I want to introduce myself. My name is Mike Pocisk. I am a Savvy agent. Been an agent for about 8 years now and been with Savvy for one. I represent the Western Carolinas, which includes um, North Carolina in the mountains, which obviously includes the Asheville region. Try to focus about an hour away from Asheville, as well as the High Country, which has got some towns like Boone, Banner Elk, Blowing Rock, you maybe have heard of. Also manage the Greenville, South Carolina, wonderful little southern charm city that's got a great vibe and a lot of amenities that folks flock to visit, and then Lake Kiwi and Lake Hartwell in the western part of South Carolina, northwest corner. So it's a pretty broad market, but they all have unique, great things about them, and I'd love to talk to anybody that may be interested. So this is our team, Savvy. Seems to be growing every day I look at it. I have friends now that are peers all across the country. Maybe 30 plus markets that do a lot of the same things that I do, which is help investors find profitable short-term rentals and obviously try to launch those as well. Myself, and I think all of these folks, except for the top line, which is mainly our hub support group, has our own. You'll hear a little bit about my own here in this presentation as well, but we think we provide a great perspective from that to really be able to help folks not only find a great profitable short-term rental, but launch it and continue to do well with it. Our goal is to have you come back, and being successful is the best way to accomplish that goal for us. Okay, so here's sort of what we're going to look at today. Revenue generation, right? It's a pretty important component of what we're doing here at Savvy and helping our investors find. I feel there's six primary variables that impact revenue generation. The first two, and I'm going to focus on this side going around, I guess, counterclockwise, but the home, the attributes of the home, how old it is, how big it is, all of those things are going to be important, and then location. And I look at these two as pre-closing variables, right? So when you're starting your venture into finding short-term rentals and finding the right ones that are profitable, home and location are very important. Obviously, that's probably the biggest focus. The vast majority of questions, hey, Mike, what type of home does well in your market? What's the best location in your market that you're seeing success for these homes? So I call these pre-closing variables. And obviously, we spend a lot of time. We try to find comps around these. We run pro formas. And, by the time you get to closing, we've hopefully found good solutions for both a home that performs well and in a good location that also performs well. But here's the key. So we have four other variables, which I'm going to call post-closing variables and impacts to revenue generation. The first one, we'll touch more about these on each one here in a bit, but marketing, how you go about marketing, who you put it in front of to try to procure guests and revenue from the marketing efforts. Your hosting, which is essentially you're now a host, you own it. You're going to provide information on your cabinet. You're going to provide a client service that your clients are looking for to enjoy themselves, to answer any questions, and all of those key communications. Amenities. So amenities is where you start really adding value to your guests. We talked a little bit about post-closing, adding amenities. Well, we'll touch on this a little bit more here in a minute. And then the last component is pricing. How do you go about pricing your home to maximize your revenue? The old supply and demand component. But these are the four post-closing things. Here's the two closing things. So in order to figure out the value of the post-closing variables, we're going to do something. We're bringing back our old science project middle school days here, but we're going to create a control around the two pre-closing variables. And you might ask how you do that, but if we successfully do that, we can then say, hey, these do not have any impact, potentially, or very minimal impact on revenue. And we can purely look at the other four variables independently or holistically. What impact do these have on the revenue that you're creating? So you may ask, how are we going to put a control around the home and the location? And here's the best way I could think to do it. What if we found a community that has almost exactly the same home? So every home is the same. It's the same size, same age, built around the same time. It's also in the same location. It's got the same views, all of those things. And this community that we picked here is called Scenic Wolf. It's in Mars Hill. It's by Hatley Point, which is a new ski resort area. These were built in about 2005, about 2,300 square foot. They almost all have a 4-bedroom, 3.5 bath layout. They have great views. It's about 30 minutes north of Asheville. On a map here, if you see where Asheville is located, these are up here. So mostly north, right off I-26. It takes about 30, 35 minutes to commute from Asheville to here. So it just kind of gives you a sense of where we're talking in this community. But the most important part of this is that they're all the same. So what we've essentially done is created a control, because we can no longer expect that this home versus this home is going to have a much of a different revenue if they're exactly the same. It's got the same view, so we really can't expect much revenue differential between the location, because they've got the same views, the same spot. I mean, they're right next to each other. There's 33 homes in here, and they're all within a mile of each other. So we've really, I think we've been able to set a control around those first two variables. And now we can look at the impacts of the other four variables that, again, are post-closing in nature. Okay, so we're going to start breaking these down a little bit. Three that are high performing ones and 3 that are lower performing ones. I didn't pick the top 3. I picked number 4, 5, and 6 in the list of revenue income. We got some of these over 100, but I'm trying to take outliers. I wanted to have a little bit of a, hey, if these guys are just got some kind of special sauce, let's maybe take that out. And then the very low performers, the ones that are making 10,000 because maybe they just don't know what they're doing, and maybe they just bought, maybe they use it 80% of the time, whatever that reason will be. I tried to take some outliers on the high side and the low side. And here's the results. So on the high side, I have revenue for these 3 cabins averaging about $84,000, $83,000 a year. Occupancies at 58%. On the low performing cabins, I have 26, 29, and 32, averaging 29,000 with a lot lower occupancy. So you can see that's what separates high and low. I obviously picked the higher revenues under the higher performing cabins and the lower revenues and the lower performing cabins. But here's the key. How much of this is different? We're talking 188% increase in revenue for the high performing, again, ones that rank 4, 5, and 6 versus the low performing, or I guess 27, 28, and 29 in the list. And that's, again, 188%. That's a big number. So if these are truly the same home in the same location, I don't know, maybe I didn't expect, and probably you didn't expect, that there's this much swing involved with the other elements that we haven't talked about yet. So it's going to be really important to look at these post-closing elements and see collectively that, hey, we'd have a huge difference here in revenue, not just by picking a good house and not just picking a good location necessarily, but what we do after post-closing to really generate and earn top dollar is key. Occupancy, again, stronger than the occupancy here, but let's dig in a little bit into more specifically. So these are real life examples of these 3 performing and 3 non-performing. I didn't just create pictures out of the blue. I'm saying of these 3, what are they doing differently that the other ones aren't? And hopefully I have some good examples to show you why that looks like. So we're going to focus first on marketing. Very easy out of the gate, very easy to do, yet you'll find an amazing amount of people that don't do it, is take professional pictures, take drone pictures, take videos, we have good light, but again, having a professional do that, because this is going to be your face out there on the internet of what your cabin or what your property or short-term rental has to offer. So I like to point out a couple of these. Like, I saw, great drone picture up here, nice outdoor amenity, good light, a fire pit down here, indoor. You can see well. It's well lit up. Balls are on the pool table. Trash is picked up. Be surprised what I see, but anyway, a good solid indoor and then again outdoor picture. You can tell this is done by a professional. The lights are on, the chairs are in a row, and it's just showing that view that it has. Conversely, on some of the lower performing cabins, here's what we saw. Now these are extreme, maybe a little bit, but really, so we got a bathroom view. I think we saw a hook off here. I mean, just a little things that you can do to really make a difference. I mean, probably I would not have even shown this unless it's got some great tiled shower in there. You got poor lighting in this one. Unfortunately, it just doesn't show much. I mean, I think we're in a bedroom here looking at a TV, so I don't understand the value. You got blinds closed, so no really good light there. This is sort of the picture of nothing, in my opinion. You got a deck here with one lonely plastic $4 chair for whatever reason they sought to highlight that, and then another bathroom shot of I feel it's pretty poor quality. Here's a stat in here that we're seeing up to 40% of people have higher income with professional pictures. Another marketing tool, Google ads, Facebook ads help drive revenue, help drive eyes to your site. So this is an example, and I'm gonna tell you up front, mine is one of the higher performing cabins. So I have some inside analytics into some of these things that people are doing. I'm also on the board up there, so I know a lot of the owners. This is a Google ad, and these are the results. So what we're looking at here is a course of 2024, so about 75 days. I got a couple champion challenger ads out here. Optimization score, I'm not too worried that Google thinks my score. What's important is if it's working, because they want money too. So if I increase my budget, I think my score would go up. But here's what we're seeing. So I got about $500 budgeted so far in 2025. And what I'm looking at is my interactions, my clicks. And here's the thing. These clicks, you can either send them to your VRBO or Airbnb click. I highly recommend you create a URL and drive your marketing efforts and your eyes that are clicking on there directly to where you want them to be. And that's a URL for me. And I'll show you why in here in a minute. You can just add so much more value, so much more content that you can on those sites. So my goal here, and just to give you a sense, this isn't very expensive. I have so far 161 conversions. I had 1,000 people click on my URL, brought onto my website, and then I had 161 so far click on the booking site. So that brought them right to the booking, Airbnb booking, VRBO booking, however they wanted to book. They're right there ready to book. So that is my goal with my dollars, is to create as much people looking at booking my home, showing them my home as I can. Again, using a URL, geofencing is going to be key here. We'll talk about that, keywords, and then get the most efficient use out of your dollars. Here's a couple components of that. So we talked about geofencing. So this is my market, right? The home we're talking about is right here where the blue is. Here's my market that I'm marketing to. You ask, okay, well, why do you do that? Why don't you just do the whole reason? Well, here's why. If I market over to Knoxville or whatever, they're going to much more likely go to Pigeon Forge, Gatlinburg, Smoky Mountains, all in here, much closer than I am. If I go to Atlanta and market, you know what? They're going to go to the North Georgia mountains. Kind of offers about the same thing that we have where I'm at. Why would somebody drive 3 times as far when they can get, for the most part, to the same mountain region? So same case over here. They can probably get to Boone faster, the high country faster than they can Asheville. So I picked this geographical area because I think that's the highest value that I can promote to. That's the highest likelihood that people wanting to go to the mountains or go skiing, they're going to be in this area and to come up here because it's the closest. Keyword categories. So for me, when I did this, I said, okay, do I have Asheville related keywords or non-Asheville related keywords? And what that means essentially is that my keyword containing the word Asheville, because Asheville is big, right? So if I say cabin near Asheville, cabin in Asheville, Airbnb near Asheville, it's going to fall in this category. If it's going to be, sleeps 12, great views, hot tub, it's going to be in this category. Not necessarily looking at the results per se, but what you're doing here is educating. You're trying to figure out what keywords, what use of your money is the best. And by doing champion challenges like this, it really adds a lot of value. Keywords. These just a snippet of keywords that I kind of pulled. And again, I think these are probably the ones that are non-Asheville. I don't see Asheville in here. In Google, you can put as a phrase match, broad match, and I'm happy to talk in more detail how this works. Facebook is very about the same concept of how this works. But here's my conversions, right? I have the number of clicks for each keyword and a number of conversion. And again, I'm not necessarily focused on the results. What I'm focused on is you have the analytics to be smart with your dollars, right? So first of all, these keywords aren't giving me anything. I'm not spending anything, but they're not giving me anything. So I would probably take those out and focus on another keyword. Maybe nobody's ever heard of Marcel, which is probably pretty likely. Here are the ones that are doing good that cost very little. I'm getting 32 clicks. Actually, yeah, so my conversions are much higher over here on these than they are here. So maybe I need to allocate my money to these a little bit more. Hatley Point, cabins in Asheville or in North Carolina, and be smart with my money is the main thing we're trying to look at here. Here's my URL. Just quickly, I'm going to kind of just show you this. Able to put a ton of content in here, right? You can't do this with your Airbnb VRBO link. I can put my booking links here. I can give my ratings. I can give my overview of what the cabin is, what it has. Cool little walkthrough video with some music. Just threw some new stuff around Hatley Point when I went skiing up there, kind of what that looks like. Adding a cool little character thing with what's to do in the area, where it's at in relation to things, pictures, testimonials, and area information. This is probably the most important thing. They can't get this off of your Airbnb VRBO site. So putting a place where they can get these types of things is critical. And this is $200 a year. I built it myself out of Wix. It's very easy to do. But this is, if you have something like this, you can drive your marketing toward it. Go back to presentation here. Again, expensive, a couple $100. Quick little thing. This is Google Maps. Put your profile on Google Maps, folks. So this is the 32 homes, right? When you zoom into Google on your map, you see some cabins here, right? So it's important to, like, here's one. I think there's two that are performing, high performing. I don't see any low performing cabins on here. Some people miss what's allocated to what they have. Make sure you put the bed icon. I think it's under some kind of lodging thing. If they click on the cabin, it's going to open up information, the phone number. It's going to have the website URL, and they can quickly get in touch if they have questions. And this is free. This doesn't cost me anything, and it drove last month 14 additional people to my website. So just another example of using marketing smartly. Let's transition to key amenities. Got these are all high performing pictures of the three cabins. You got great amenities inside. This guy built a slide, right? I think he's the highest performing one out there. And he really didn't do that much more than be super creative with a slide that the kid can go from one story to the next, right into the game room. You have a bar area that was put in. You have video games, probably cost $300 a piece, something they can't do at their house, but adds just a cheap amenity. And I'm not talking a huge amount of cost here in these amenities. Game table, these things hold 12 people, great for guys trips or couples or whatever, and they want to play some cards. I didn't see any of these in any of them. It cost them, a couple $100, maybe $1,000 to put in a cool gaming table. Outside, this is a bar top on top of this rail. So you spent a couple $100 and sanded it down, painted it, got your bar stools up here, and you can enjoy your breakfast, your coffee, your beer, whatever it is, overlooking the fantastic view over there by Hatley Point. Use small amount of space to put a fire pit, a nice swing here. Maybe they didn't have a place for outdoor project. So you put in a covered roof over the deck, and you created an outdoor fire pit. You can still say, "Hey, folks, I have a fire pit," and get away with it. And then obviously a hot tub with a great view, just showcasing that as an amenity is super important, especially in the mountains. High performing ones, we this is the average 4.95. Low performing ones are about an average of 4.6. It doesn't take much to really be at the bottom here, scale of 1 to 5. It really doesn't. The number of reviews is important. Higher reviews, the better. I think I've heard Scott and our team say many times when he's analyzing a home, he don't look at anything under a certain amount of reviews because it just doesn't really have enough evidence to tell the accurate. Impacts. I don't have a way to look at all everybody's what they do for pricing, but I can say it's super important as part of the process. So find a pricing tool that helps you do the supply and demand. We're going to leave the science class and go over to marketing. Pricing is all based on supply and demand. So pick your competition, make sure it's the right competition close, and then look at the supply and demand outwardly to predict what your marketing and what your pricing should look like. Know your market. Is there a festival coming on? Is something opening that's new that you can really change your pricing at? If it's higher than 80% occupancy, you know what? Maybe you got your price too low. It shouldn't be that low. Um, Probably 60 to 80% is more the target. So adjust your pricing, to make sure that your occupancy isn't just being wear and tear on all these visits and not the same income you can generate with a little bit better pricing model. So that's the four. Obviously we saw these four variables greatly impact revenue. When I talk to my investors, they're focused on the house, they're focused on location. I really prefer when we can have conversations about their plan. We can run a pro forma all day, revenue estimate all day, and I'm going to tell them, right? I'm going to provide. Hey, I got three comps that are doing $85,000. So I think that's what your pro forma and your revenue analysis should look like because it can happen. But by doing that, I'm saying, hey, I expect you to be in the top of your market with these things to be able to produce that. So you can't just buy it, good location, stick it on Airbnb, take average pictures and expect those returns. So what I try to do with this thing is really give you a sense that it is super important when I put those controls in the home and location. It's super important to differentiate your income by doing these four things well. I can't emphasize that enough. These are all important. And at Savvy, we all have our own. We can help not only find that property, but we can help you be successful in these as well. But at a minimum, get educated, understand what they mean, understand how to win in each of these examples. So with that, opening up to any questions anybody has, and happy to kind of go back and talk about things. Hey, sorry, I think I lost everybody there. There was a question around amenities, and I think the designer can help with amenities at all times. They have those, but You can go to arcade games. I go online and find my stuff at Amazon, smaller arcade games. There's plenty of opportunities to find great amenities like that for relatively cheap. And you can either have them come in and installed or, put them together yourself for pretty easy to do. On the ads, so yeah, I mean, Google Ads has tutorials. They have good resources. Facebook as well. You can call and probably once you're ready to spend and give them a sense of what you want to do. I know there's consultants in Google at Google that I talk to once a month, and they will kind of run down where we're at and help me calibrate what where they suggest I should move the money around into what keywords, into what kind of marketing efforts, and they're smart about it. Some of the stuff they do, they'll kind of do and just kind of launch for me, and we'll kind of see how it works. I mean, I am not a techie at all, but I'm able to at least get on the phone with Google, and they will help you build that. They want you to spend money, right? So that's their way to working with you to to at least get it launched, get it going. So great question on the bookings from Facebook. Um, so I don't. All I know is I can get them. I can understand if they click my Airbnb link or my VRB link. I can tell they clicked that, right? But I don't have a way to say, "Hey, you booked," other than to know I'm getting a good amount of bookings right now. But I can't tie back one to one on those. I'm just putting 161 new people in front of my web page that are clicking on my book with Airbnb here link. They're going to Airbnb. It's coming up with the Airbnb link, but I don't know exactly which of those do. It's a great question. Um, Unless you can really drive some kind of tags around your VRBO or Airbnb links itself, which you may be able to do. I was more interested in just making sure that my dollars were driving people to that site so they can book on their own. Great, great question. At this point, I'm not aware of how to do that exactly. Uh, Yeah, so I've talked to Google folks. There's a way to get in there, and if you're spending money, if you're just asking questions, they're less likely to talk to you. But I'm only spending $8, my $8 a day, right? Split between my Google Ads learning, and they have been willing so far to maybe not every day, but once a month, get together and just talk about it. That may eventually go away once I kind of get it off and running the best way possible, and we're not seeing a need to change too much. But I've seen, and I can send you my contact if you want to just ping me or text me. I'll send you my contact, and I'm sure they would talk to you too once you got to that same point. Is there any way for you to know how many of these clicks? Okay, that's the same question. Um, is property manager still worth it to write ads to a custom URL, which then feeds into the Airbnb and VRBO page? I think so. You saw my custom URL and I spent more time, but welcome to go through it, look at it. It just adds so much more information, especially the market around you. They ask me all the time, hey, what's to do in Marcel? What's to do in Burnsville? What's to do in these things? And you can give that to them in a sense that they can then go look and set up their reservations for their restaurants or their brewery tours or whatever that looks like. Providing as much of that upfront is just going to help them. It's going to increase your scores because they have information is key. If they have the information in front of them, then it's just going to help the overall process. But very good question. Any other questions? Well, I hope I wasn't frozen for too long. Happy to help anybody. So what markets can you help with? So again, I do Western North Carolina includes, Asheville region, High Country region, Greenville, South Carolina, and then Lake Hartwell, South Carolina are my regions. I came from Charlotte. If you're looking at Charlotte, I can probably help there as well. It's not that far from me, but it's not one that I highlight. Happy to, again, have a conversation, even if it's not about my regions or homes, just about any of this content. We at Savvy want to make sure that you're armed with the right resources. So if you have questions about marketing, Facebook or Google ads, or how to create and and get good reviews. Again, happy to help however that looks like. I'm sorry I missed the last question there. Um, can you send that question over? What's the average price of these homes? So I'll tell you what, COVID, they were going for under 400,000. Now they're with Hatley Point. Now is the key. So Hatley Point is now taking over that ski resort, and they're doing some great things. They're selling out. They're putting a boutique ski resort. They're adding slopes that weren't there. This ski resort was run down, folks. It was tough. So everybody in this list, up to 2 years ago, took a pretty big gamble by saying, "Hey, we really hope somebody buys this and really develops it," and that gamble paid off for all of us. So those average revenue prices are just going to go up now that Hatley Point is open. They're putting in mountain biking trails, mountain coasters, all these great things. Right now, they're averaging about 600,000 or so price tag, but there's just not that many going on the market because people were excited about the unknown. But we had one go on the market a couple weeks ago, so it was out there. Look for Scenic Wolf, and if you see anything, happy to kind of jump on a call and talk about it. Again, I'm on the board, so I have some insider information on some of that stuff, and happy to kind of help. But it's a neat place. It really is in Western North Carolina where that's at. What website do you use for direct bookings? Do you use a PMS or your direct booking website? So I had direct bookings on my web page, and what I was finding is everybody was using it because I made it really easy to find. And I think I've found, I mean, at least my direct booking, I use it through Guesty, isn't the best. I'll be honest with you. So I've kind of found that I'm going to hide it a little bit, not make it as easily readable. But if somebody asks me, "Do you have a way to direct book?" I'm going to say, "Yeah," and I'm going to show them how to do it, or I'm going to do it for them. So I think it's important to at least have that option out there through your whether you use Guesty or your platform may look like. But I didn't put it front and center because I was finding that it almost had too much. I'd rather it be the people that ask for it. So that answered that question. Um, go back to, they wanted to see it again. That web page. Have our contact information up here. I got some great things. We had a hurricane here. I'm sure everybody heard, but my first review that was post hurricane, I was positive. I put it front and center. This place that did not get impacted by the storms. Amazing place. I'm going to showcase that sucker. Maybe we're going on since October, but I want to put people at ease. Again, I have my booking links. These will go directly to my Airbnb link or the VRB link. I had direct booking here, but I took it down. These cost a couple of dollars a month. These little fancy, actually, this is a free version, but you can do some fancy stuff here. Um, I walked through a video of the home. I put it to music. Talked about this location. I have not tried PMSs other than Guesty at this point. I use Guesty Lite. It's cheap. I use their price optimizer out of that at $9. I think Guesty Lite for the year was 150. I just wanted to get better at it. I've been managing this for 2 years. Didn't have anything at first, so I see the value. I see the value in communicating well, having a central calendar repository. All of those things are important, even outside of price optimizer to do. So I do recommend it, but so far Guesty's been able to accomplish my goals with that, having only 2 short-term rentals. If you got more, there's probably better ones that probably get you information on. Good question. I put my testimonials, newer testimonials at the top. Area information, hiking, and hiking's a big around here. Restaurants, calendar events. I kind of keep the same theme going across each of these areas. I probably even do a little bit more of that. Again, just putting data in front of people. I got direct sites to, Hatley Point. Obviously, it's closed for the year, but people can quickly, easily see what that looks like. Um, so again, that's just information, right? It's providing the information to folks that have a very easy way to pull that information together and make quick decisions. They're not coming for your house; they're coming from the area. They're coming for what's around. Just make your house stand out when it's up against other competition is the key. Okay. Um, anyway, I was just showing my website there. You're welcome to go to www.rentwildliferidge.com. Check it out for yourself. If you want to have a conversation about why and how I put something out there, happy to do that as well. All right. Again, Mike Pocisk, Savvy Realty. Let me know if you have any further questions or want to connect. Happy to do that. But thank you for your time. This Savvy or this session. Hopefully you learned a little bit and have a good rest of your day. Thank you.